So that's exactly what your application is to the airlines. It's your first impression that they're going to have of you to see if they want to go to that dance with you, whether they want to date you, and ultimately get you to an interview where they may want to marry you for the next 30 years.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Monday. Here we are, pilot. What's up? It's Nick. I'm here. We're back together. I missed you since Thursday. What did you do this weekend? I hope it was a super cool weekend. Maybe you got some flying in. Maybe you went and did something else that is really fun. Today, I talk with a gentleman named Jason Richardson from a company called Spitfire Elite Interview Consulting. I don't know if you've ever heard about Spitfire Elite Interview Consulting, but if you haven't, go back and listen to all my other episodes because Spitfire is me and I am Spitfire and Bill and Tron and all of our whole team. It is a special day for us because we are turning the microphone in on ourselves just a little bit and we're talking about app reviews. Jason is one of the app review kings at Spitfire. He talks to all of the important things that he sees when he reviews people's applications. If you have not had a professional application review done yet by my team, you need to. If you are going to put yourself out there, if you are going to get your information into somebody else's hands, it behooves you to get your application reviewed. And it needs to be awesome because that application represents who you are. If there are gaps or problems, you're never going to make it to the interview table. And so it doesn't matter how prepared you are for your interview. If your application is not perfect, it's not going to matter. And so Jason and I talk a lot about that. And we just really pour into you, the pilot, that needs to hear, that wants to know. We give you a lot of really good tips. It's not an end around to not having an application review. I'll tell you that. Don't try to listen here and make some changes and hope for the best. Maybe you'll have some luck, maybe you won't, but I'll tell you what, you've got to have that warm fuzzy. I did it when I was going through, man. God, so important. Plus, I have no attention to detail, so I mix it all up. I hope that you get a lot of value out of that, and I want you to let me know if you do. Boy, I can polish you up for your interview, but I cannot review your application. And thank God for guys like Jason. So sit back, relax, enjoy this conversation with Jason Richardson. And last but not least, let's have a quick word from our sponsors because without them, we wouldn't have this awesome podcast. Hey, pilot, it's Nick. I want to tell you about a great friend of the show, Timothy P. Pope. He's a financial planner, and he's completely focused on the professional pilot. He's the kind of guy you want to go to for real talk to help you figure out your financial future. With so many upgrades and so many transitions and so many things going on, you owe it to yourself to give him a call. He'll help you design and execute really smart financial planning strategies, whether it's retirement planning, investment management, military transition, tax planning. He's a great financial planning partner. Timothy P. Pope, CFP, helping professional pilots make the most out of life. Give him a shout. All the information's in the show notes. You should definitely tell him I told you to call. All right, everybody. Here we are with my man, Jason Richardson. What's up, dude?
Hey, man. How are you? Long time.
Jason is my super secret squirrel, and he is the king of application review. And the reason we are talking about application review today is because it is so important. And it is the thing that gets you where you want to go. And so this idea of having somebody that specializes in it and finding that person is so valuable. I know that when I did my applications, I had it reviewed and I was super thankful.
I think I'm a pretty smart guy, but it's clearly very debatable. But there was so much. It was such a train wreck. I was super embarrassed. Jason, dude, how did you get into this application review world?
Oh, great question. Best part was, as a retiring military person coming out of the Air Force, I was actually lucky enough with Tron and Bill to get hooked up through the Skill Bridge program, which is a whole amazing thing that you could do like 3 shows on.
Yeah.
And
We actually have a couple already. SkillBridge is for the military folks, something to help them as they transition out of the military. And yeah, Bill and Tron from Spitfire, man, they run a good show with SkillBridge.
absolutely. And when I came on into their company, they taught me the things to be looking for to help myself. And I mean, we're all, for the military background folks, I mean, all we want to do is pass it along, help people out. So when I retired, I asked if I could stay on with the company and just continue to move things forward for other folks.
And they said no.
Oh,
Absolutely, man. So the application review process, right? Why do you think it's valuable?
so it's your first impression,
Okay.
really. I mean, if you all remember back to the awkward time in high school where you're trying to get that special person to go to the dance with you, you slip them a note. It's that note. And whether they're going to say yes or no to inviting you to the dance.
Maybe
I mean, that's exactly,
I'd have had a lot more dances that I'd have gone to with girls if I'd have known you, so I could have you review my note.
yeah,
Damn.
exactly. I mean, so that's exactly what your application is to the airline. Your first impression that they're going to have of you to see if they want to go to that dance with you, whether they want to date you, and ultimately get you to an interview where they may want to marry you for the next 30 years.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So depending on where you are in your career, there are a lot of different types of applications, right? Like, can you talk to kind of some of the stuff you've seen?
So obviously working with Spitfire, I mean, everybody's big dream is the cargo carriers and the passenger carriers in the 121 world. But I mean, you have the fractional ownerships in the 135 world. You've got the regionals in the 121 world. And you've got the folks who are just starting out with Aviate Academy or Propel or the American Airlines Cadet Academy. And so all of those have application processes that we can help you make sure that your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and you're answering the questions the way they're asking the questions. Because that's a big thing. You know, sometimes we think we answer it the way we think it's being asked, not the way it's really being asked.
Yeah, that's important because like this is the first way to discriminate against the list of names, right? Like you have a certain amount that you can hire, and based on that application, you can narrow down the ones that have followed the directions, listened, and provided a quality product. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I love that you brought up like Aviate and Propel and the cadet programs. There are a lot of people applying for those. And being able to put your best foot forward, I think, is a really compelling look. And you don't need to wait until you're applying for UPS or something like that to get a quality product. And here's why. There are so many different application portals. I mean, United, and I think October, November, they went onto their own portal, right? They want to control their data. They want to be able to have all that data. You've got UPS, they've got their own portal. You want to do Aviate, you want to do a small company like a small carrier because you're low time. Everybody's got their own app. You're going to have to put in your basics, right? Your name and your address and the people you have worked for in the past, but you're also going to have to do this over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, dozens of times. It is obnoxiously long. So how long do you think it takes to fill out an application?
Honestly, it depends because some of them are very minimal in the information they're asking you for, and some of them are a lot more complex. I will tell you that Delta's application via Airline apps is probably the one that takes most clients the longest to actually do. Just because that there's so much information. It goes back to what United did coming off Airline apps, going to their own site where they can control everything versus kind of one size fits all application site in which specific companies have addendums to attach on.
Yeah, the addendums, man. Oh my gosh. So if you're going to apply for Delta or Endeavor or Envoy or Frontier, there's probably 15 of them that use airline apps. And God bless them. I'm sure the guy's making a ton of money, but it is a train wreck of a system. I mean, it's like Windows 3. And it's when the internet first came out. That's the feeling you get when you're on there, and it's clunky and it's slow and you fill out everything. And then after you fill out everything, the addendum that Jason just talked about, like each company has their own special extra stuff. Some of them are super duper simple. Some of them are really complex. Like I remember, I think it's Delta. They want to know your total hours on your addendum, right? And you have to update that when you update your hours.
And so, yeah, for any of the airline app systems, that gets put into the big overarching system, and then they have the Delta separate addendums. The interesting aspect of the addendums is you'll read the question, and while they look similar, they're requesting different answers.
Can you give me an example of what you're thinking of?
Yeah. I think the one that is near and dear to most pilots' hearts is hook check rides, right?
Hooked. Hooked is a word I'm not familiar with because I'm not from the Air Force.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so if you've ever failed a check ride.
Okay, you hooked it.
Yeah, so you hooked it.
Not like you're landing on an aircraft carrier and you catch a 3-way.
No, oh yeah, see? Navy people.
Oh, man.
No. Who wants to go on a boat?
Well, I mean, what if you're fishing and you have a hook? And you
True
caught
statement.
a fish?
Yes. So if you've ever failed a check ride.
Okay.
So Delta's addendum asks that question, as does FedEx, American, all of the carriers are going to ask. But one of the unique things about Delta is they want to know if you've ever done it during like pilot training.
Okay.
Which, like a phase check or a stage check, something before you ever got your military wings. Whereas American, same exact question, different system, their own pilot credentials. They don't ask if you've ever hooked something while you were in pilot training.
Okay.
They just want to know if you've hooked something after you've become a winged aviator.
Okay, got it. So one of them is like, hey, did you fail anything in flight school? And one of them is like, have you failed anything after flight school?
Correct.
Oh my God. Yeah, RTFQ, right?
Yes, exactly.
Read the freaking question. But also, like, there's so much complexity. I mean, there's like 400 questions, 400 fields you have to fill out for one application, right?
True statement. I mean, your airline apps is going to take you, if you've not collected all that information, I mean, you're looking at 7, 10, upwards of 15 hours.
Oh, man.
Because they want all of your education. And I mean, one of the tricks is in that education field, certain airlines want more than just civilian education. They want all of your military training, if you're a military pilot, listed in there as well.
Or if you're civilian, right? Did you go to some academy extra stuff and get extra qualifications for crew resource management or whatever?
Yes. Where did you do your upgrade training at? It reads as education, but it's actually education and training.
Yeah.
Which is a commonly missed thing for applicants.
Yeah. And that's pretty nuanced. Corey Glenn, right? Corey is the director of hiring at American Airlines. Super great guy. Really like big heart for pilots and wanting to get people at American. And he said that the people that are not getting a call from American, if you have your app in right now with American and you don't have a call, it's because there's a 95% chance it's an application problem. That is crazy.
Yep, exactly. And that goes into that aspect of whether you have your friend review it or your spouse, significant other review it, or you pay for a company to review it. A lot of people fill out their applications and then just hit publish. And they've had no second set of eyes of any kind look at it for grammatical errors, for inconsistency with how you list out information, with forgetting to put your GPA for your high school that you went to. So it looks like you're trying to possibly hide something where it really just an omission of the data. But when they're trying to look through it, they're like, hey, this guy didn't fill out the information. We're going to go with this individual over here who read all the questions, filled out the information correctly.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. So let's say you're building your app. Let's say you're the guy or gal and you're the pilot figuring out who you doing shotgun blast, scatter shot. You're going to fill out a bunch of applications. So you fill out the first one, you pick whatever, you pick United and you fill it out and you save it and you publish it. when you're filling it out, you don't have to do it all at one time. You don't have to take 12 hours and like get yourself in a dark room and light up your vape pen and drink a bunch of whiskey and fill it all out. But you do need to save it. After you're ready to go and you're ready to move on, if you hit save and then publish it, once you publish it, it's graded, right? It goes automatically into some computer gonculator and gets analyzed. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah. And so when you hit publish, it's live for that airline to be able to pull it, grade it, and review it.
Yeah. So if you're going to publish and you get one first look, right? And then you can probably get other looks in the future, but your one first look, you want to make sure that note to the girl is in your best handwriting.
Exactly.
Man.
The person you're amorous for.
Amorous. Yes. Amorous. I was a business major. I'm really not sure what that means, but.
No. So, and the big thing is, I mean, you don't have to fill it out all at once, which is, I would never recommend you sit there for all that time because you're just going to want to poke your eye out. And that's when you start making mistakes. The biggest thing is, when you start, instead of leaving something blank, when you're like, oh, that community college that I went to, I don't know what my GPA was. I only took 3 classes there over the summer. So I'm just going to put a 3.5 in.
Yeah.
And then you go through and you never actually request those transcripts. You don't QC your work or go back to it. Don't make a note. And then you end up publishing. And then say your airline of choice requests an interview with you. And then you're like, oh, let me go back in and make sure everything's good. And you're like, oh, really? That wasn't a 3.5. It was a 1.7, which is actually a true story we saw with a client.
I know. I did his prep.
Yeah. And you're sitting there going, man, now it looks like you were being deliberately falsifying a document to try to get an interview and you're changing it after they've invited you. Really bad luck.
Yeah. So here's what happened is the guy, really great dude, he had an app. I can't remember who he got called for. It might have been Delta. And he had a 3.5 placeholder that he put in his GPA because he couldn't remember what his GPA was. So he just put 3.5 in there and moved on. And which is crazy because it was like one of like 3 or 4 colleges that he went to. And he actually had a 1.7. Like he had bombed whatever it was before he like got things organized. And like he just had that placeholder in there and he forgot about it. And he published it and he got an invite. And he got the invite and went in there with a transcript that said 1.7. And they put their arm around him and walked him to the door and said, thanks for stopping by. And it's very sad. Like he worked really, really hard. He had a great story. And that one thing, because they feel the interviewer, right? It's your first look, feels like it's a lie. And that is not what you want. It's a cautionary tale. That is so important. Here's my little tip for somebody that's going to do an application, pick for whatever organization, is go on your favorite email service and create a fake email account and then create a fake account for the application if you have to log in and set up something. And that way you can go through and see what questions they're asking first. And you can start gathering that data to make it a little bit easier. You're going to have a work history. If you're young and you have had 3 jobs, I've seen it, like real short resume applications. Man, that is so lucky. Or the places you've lived. You're going to have a list of the places you lived. It might be 10 years back. It might be 20 years back. It might be your whole life. I can tell you that I have lived all over the place. I have lived in a dozen plus states and many locations. And it was so hard to get that information. So, and who have you worked for, right? I've had a job since I was 14 years old. My first job was at Krispy Kreme Donuts. That's a story for another time. Going back that far is pretty tough. How about this? Okay. So I am working on my app and I've got all these jobs that I've had, but I don't know who the hell my manager was. What do I do?
Well, that's a great question. It goes back to who are you applying for? Places like FedEx, if you read their requirements, only require you technically to go back 10 years.
Okay.
And so in theory, we should all have a general understanding of where we worked in the last 10 years. Places like Delta, they want you to go back further. They want to see that kind of full career history. And that's kind of where you get in the point. When I was 15 years old, my mom's driving me to, the ice cream stand to go scoop out, 32 flavors. who is my boss?
That's right.
And I will tell you that if you don't know, you can put unknown.
Okay.
Just don't leave it blank.
That's a good tip. I had no idea. When I went through mine, I was like, oh gosh, I've had more jobs than Forrest Gump. So
the interesting aspect is the Google machine is a lifesaver when you're doing this. I don't remember who my boss was when I worked at an erosion control place during the summers in college. I was fixing those hydroseeders and mulchers and all of that stuff.
What the hell is that?
And that company's out of business. So what am I supposed to do? Everything on the internet is saved. Like you Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, whatever your favorite search engine is for that company, and you're bound to get the name, the address, the telephone number, and the owner of that company. And so I advise clients, like, if you do that, you're never going to go wrong putting the owner of the company as your supervisor, because ultimately that's who was writing your checks.
That's true. And the moral of the story, I think, is to do your research, get as much as you can, and then get professional advice, because it is so valuable. I always tell people who think that they should do it on their own or this, that, or the other. I've had so many people, and I am not an app reviewer, but I will look at somebody's app and I'll make some recommendations, and I'll get my red pen out and I'll make some circles and hand it back to them, especially like people that are super duper confident about it. I'm like, give me your app. I'll take a look at it. I'll find problems all the time, and I don't even know what I'm looking for. And so if somebody like me can do it, I always think, what is your career worth? Every year you're not at your destination airline, you're putting $500,000 on the table that you're walking away from. And so if you were delaying that, you can do the math. Again, divide 500,000 by 12, but somebody can. And for each month you're not there, that's how much you're wasting and you're not getting in your pocket at the end of the day. So the cleaner your application, the faster you're going to be there. Do you feel like there's been this massive uptick in the past, I don't know, 6-7 months as everybody's like going crazy?
Yes and no. I mean, it's interesting that there's a ebb and a flow, because the entire aviation industry is connected to each other in the fact that November, December, some companies have canceled new hire classes for the month of December. They've stopped putting out interview requests until February. Those are two different companies. But also, when you look at the landscape of the conferences.
Yeah. Women in Aviation, NGPA, OBAP, PAPA, LPA,
exactly.
Like all of them. So many great. RTAG too. Sorry, guys.
RTAG too. I mean, TPNX. Like, there's at least 6 different conferences.
I'm going to start my own, by the way. I'm going to start a conference because it's good money. Let's go.
It is good money. But no, was it February is Women in Aviation and NGPA, I believe. So both of those, one's at the beginning of February, one's at the end of February. So most people are just now thinking, oh, hey, I want to go to that conference. Let me get my resume. Let me get my app done.
So we're recording this in December of 2022. This actually might come out after NGPA and OBAP happen, but you're absolutely right. So 2 months prior, people are starting to really lock in the fact like they finally got permission from their spouse to go. And they're like, oh, I better build my app and get things going.
Exactly. And you want to back that up even more, because American, I'm going to say they pioneered it. American did a great job at last year's Women in Aviation conference, the 2022 version, in that they started doing on-the-spot interviews and CJOs.
Yep.
I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
It's a big surprise to everybody.
Exactly. And I think it really changed the hiring landscape, because then you started seeing other companies start to do interviews at subsequent conferences.
Yeah, UPS did it at OBAP.
Yeah, and then so what you end up having to do is, if you want to be considered for a spot, for that 15-minute one-on-one that can lead to an interview and to a CJO, you've got to have your app published with that airline a couple weeks ahead of time.
Let me also bring this up. Okay, so at RTAG this past in 2022, I was there doing a bunch of recording, meeting, just like hanging out with all the awesome people that just came by the booth. And one of my favorite people that I had met through Spitfire came up to me and was like, holy crap, United. I just ran into it wasn't director of hiring, but it was one of the recruiters. And he was like in the bathroom, straight up in the bathroom, ran into him, started having this chat. He's like, hey, why don't you swing by the booth and we'll talk? And he's like, I don't have an app in with United. And that guy, like, I gave him my laptop and I was like, go build your application. And he like took my laptop. I had no more recording stuff for the rest of the afternoon, but like he just went and cranked out an application, and like I took a look at it, gave him a bunch of tips, and like we had Jason look at it, get him organized. But like the moral of the story is, even if you're not targeting that airline, if you're going to a convention, build the app for every possible person you're going to talk to, even if it's by accident, because he got a CJO and he's now at United, and he was not targeting United, but he's stoked. So freaking be ready. Yeah. Just be ready to interview, be ready to meet and greet, be ready to have a resume that doesn't look like shit. Put your, I see that all the time. Yeah. Put it, we're going to have a free thing on our website where you just go to the website, get your free resume template and do that. Do a good one. Then get your app. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. So that's the big thing, right? Be prepared.
Yes.
Be ready so you don't have to get ready. I'd love to say I came up with that. That's all Tron. But
he's like our sage. He comes up with all these great lines.
Absolutely. But to your point about going to a convention and having apps submitted for all of them, one of the things that we see a lot is somebody comes in and they're like, here's my application for FedEx, for instance. And we're like, cool. Where else are you thinking? They're like, nowhere. It's FedEx or nothing.
Man.
And you could take a very, very sniper rifled approach to a multi-million-dollar job, but I'm going to tell you that chances are you probably want to take a little wider shotgunned approach. How far you open that choke on the shotgun, totally up to you. The aspect is most of the folks coming out of the military doesn't really apply to the folks coming up through 135, 121 world since they're in it, but you don't know as a separating or retiring military person the ins and outs of the 121 world at all. So what you think is your ultimate destination in your mind that you created in a soda straw or talking at the Squadron bar may actually, when you start doing your research, isn't where you want to be.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
And so it goes back to your earlier point. The longer you delay, the more money you're leaving on the table at the end of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And a better quality of life too, right? Yes. So like there are so many different facets, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like how to choose an airline. I do think to pivot a little bit to the person that is the college student that's listening right now, and that you're at UND, you're at Purdue, you're at Auburn, wherever you are,
right.
Liberty, fill in the blank, all the things. You also don't know what you don't know. And that is important to make sure that you are learning and getting yourself out there and putting your best foot forward. Because if you're a young man or woman and you're in your 20s, early 20s, and you're ready to crush it, and you're going to have 40 years in a company for the rest of your life, and you've got a really short resume and a really short application, and you're competing with somebody that, who knows, that flew C-17s, or somebody that was a Thunderbird, or somebody that was a Blue Angel, or an astronaut, or a whatever. They're out there, but you're going to get the job too, but you have to show your work and your effort. They want to know you and they want to hire you. Don't be discouraged or think that you need a deeper resume. And also, in the same breath, don't think you're owed like you are owed nothing.
Yes.
And so you have to earn
you.
it.
Dude, I see that all the time.
All the time people come in with this feeling of entitlement all the time. And I'll talk to everybody. I love them. I love the conversation, but like you can see it a mile away. Man, it's like 2 words in and you're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Entitlement and a feeling of I've already got this job. It's mine. And it's a big hill to climb, y'all. And if you want to climb it on your own, cool. But if you want a couple more people on the rope helping pull you up instead of drag you down, like that's what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for those folks coming up through the university civilian aspect or side of the system, you're right. They don't fully know what they don't know either. And for that, one of the secret sauce things that people ask is like, how do we know how we score on our app? If you leave a section blank on there, then chances are you're leaving points on the table. Case in point, whether you have your CFI, CFII, MEI aspects, whether you're civilian or military, I mean, you're just leaving points on the table that otherwise could get you that call tomorrow.
That's right, because they do it on a point system, right? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, there are boxes to check on those applications. Were you a director of operations? Were you a chief pilot? Were you a check airman? And the key is a lot of people think, oh, I was a check airman in the military, that's not what they're asking. They're asking, were you like a line check airman in the 135, 121 world? So if you're sitting at the regional and you're not getting that phone call, the question is, have you upgraded to captain yet? Have you upgraded to line check airman? They want to see that passion for aviation. And the only way you can show your passion on an application is to show that you've sought after those jobs of more responsibility, more importance in a company, and taken those on.
Yeah, that progression.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the more boxes you can check, the more points you're going to get. And when they score, they literally score the app based on a point scale that each company has their own special gonculators. I'm going to try to figure out exactly what they are, though. So, okay, rewinding, we talked about building your app before you publish. So if you've already published your app and it's in there and it's in the system, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do an app review. It does mean
Correct.
that the next time you update it, you're going to have a lot better score and they're going to see that.
Yes.
And once I have this done and I'm in order and things are nice, how often am I going back and changing things and updating stuff?
It depends on where you're applying or what you're doing. If you're not actively flying, some people go in every 2 weeks or 3 weeks to update their app. It used to be back in the day when hiring was super slow that people wouldn't touch their apps for 1 to 3 months. And now I was fortunate enough at one of the conventions, going back to networking and how important it is, just randomly talking to a person who worked for one of the legacies doing grading of apps. And his statement was every morning he shows up, that he logs on his computer, he sorts his stack by the people who updated it the most recently.
Mm.
And now he sees somebody who hasn't updated their app in at least 30 days because of how fast the landscape and hiring is moving. He doesn't believe you're interested in working at that legacy airline anymore. So he's going to spend his time elsewhere.
Yeah.
So for that, if you're flying, whether it's at a regional or the 135 world or still in the military, I'd be going in and updating your hours at least once a week and then hitting publish again. That's just me, my own little thought process.
Yeah. So my life at a regional, I got to the regional thinking I was going to be there a short time. And I was there about 8 months, and then I got deployed for a year in Africa. And I was not flying. I was working a desk and working in the field, we'll say. And when I was there, anytime I had internet service, I would update my app for the whole year. While I was not flying, I would find something to update. And I knew I wasn't going to get a call, but I wanted to, like in my mind, I thought, man, whoever that cat is sitting at the desk, maybe they'll just see that I'm super duper interested, even though I'm not doing anything. Probably wondering why the hell I keep updating it. But I did, just because like that paranoia in my head is like, I want to get to the front as fast as I possibly can. I want to get there and move and keep moving forward. I do not want to lose my inertia.
Absolutely. And I mean, there were times when I was updating my app prior to getting hired that I was like, oh, wait, there's a better way I can show what I did. One of the interesting things when we talk about in the apps, there's a box for duty descriptions. What is it you say you do here or with the company that you worked at? And a lot of people will put in these big, lofty things to show how important they were, but not what they did.
I just read badass mother.
I mean, you are a Banff. So, no, so one of the things that we talk to folks about is what are those transferable skills and how do you translate what you've done to the things that they're hiring you to be, which is not to be a squadron commander, not to be an 06, not to be the chief of training. They're hiring you to be a line pilot at their airline.
That's right. They don't care that you managed a $13 million portfolio and controlled 48 troops. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah. I mean, the 48 troops, favorite number right there, by the way, is the three things that we talk about with folks as far as showing your transferable skills to the airlines is talk about your flying first, because that's ultimately what they're trying to hire you to do. Talk about your leadership next. And then I roll it up into quotes, normal duties, but those normal duties need to be emphasizing your customer service, your team building, your teamwork skills, that stuff.
Crew resource management. Don't leave that out.
I mean, threat and error management, crew resource management, ORM, like we can get into like the laundry list of buzzwords to show that transferableness. I mean, whether it's CPDLC and oceanic NATS crossings, all depending on what your background is.
Not for us helicopter guys. Sorry.
No. I mean, you might make it to Nova Scotia.
Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to make it home. Man. Yeah, you're right, man. So like there's so many different facets, and it's important to, you don't know what you don't know. I keep coming back to it. And that's why it's worth hitting up the pros. So let's say I'm sold. I want to go do it. Like, what do I need to do?
Ultimately, there are many companies out there. I will tell you that the folks...
There's only one good one, though. Let's go.
There is. The folks working at Spitfire, we are the best, and I will put money down against anybody. We turn your apps fastest right now, but ultimately, go to SpitfireElite.com. You can go to the courses tab on there, and I think 3 options that you're going to have there. You can do just an app resume review. You can do the precision interview consulting aspect for getting ready for that HR interview piece, or you could do the all-in package. The all-in package obviously includes the 2 aspects there. And then please, 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 when you sign up, you are going to get an email. It 100%. The problem is, just like with submitting apps, a lot of things start going to your spam filters or your junk folders.
Yes, good point.
Check those daily, not just for things from Spitfire, but also from emails from the airlines.
Absolutely.
And so in there, there's going to be a video. Click on that link to the video, watch it. It's a great 3 to 5 minutes of what we are looking for before you give us your product. Because if you give us a bad product, it's going to delay you being able to publish.
That's right.
We are more than happy to take as much time as we need to get you the job that you want and to make it everything perfect on that application. But if you give us a better product at the beginning, obviously we're going to get you a perfect product quicker.
That's right. So the moral of the story is, number 1, you're ready to take the relationship to the next level. Go over to the website. You're going to get an email. Check your spam folders. If you're looking to get a job at an airline, you should be checking your spam folder every day to begin with. And don't click on the link about the pills that they're trying to sell you, okay?
Yes.
But do watch the video. 3 to 5 minutes. It's going to help you understand and give you a sight picture of what kind of art project we're working on today. And then that helps you be a better applicant and therefore get your job faster and get in front of those people who are going to give you those jobs faster.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm a people person, people helping people. It's one of the best Vince Vaughn lines ever. I want you to get your dream job. 100% I do. But no one cares more about you than you should.
That's right.
So take the time and energy and effort on the front end to take care of yourself. And then we can help you get across that goal line.
That's right. You put your clothes on, we'll help you brush your teeth. That's what I do with my kids. Gosh, it works sometimes. Man, yes. Jason, dude, thank you so much for spending time with us, giving the pilot all this great insight. To me, the application is the most nebulous and scary part of it. I can go, I interview for sport, I can go talk to anybody about anything, but getting that on paper, man, that is so difficult to be right. So thank you for coming. Thank you for spending time with us. And we might bring you back on to give us an update further on in the year as things go crazy.
Sounds great, dude. I appreciate the time.
Jason Richardson, Spitfire Elite. When you're ready to take it to the next level and move forward, give them a shout. It's worth it, y'all.
Hey, before I let you go, I need to mention one thing because a lot of people are asking me, can you do anything? Can you help me with this? And the answer is yes. At Spitfire Elite, we will make more millionaires this year than Major League Baseball will make in the next 5 years. Our company actually does this. It's called Spitfire Elite Interview Consulting. And you can find us over at SpitfireElite.com. Our clients, they call us the easy button for interview prep because everything you need to crush your interview is there in one spot. Whether it's application review or interview prep, all of it is covered. We've helped thousands of clients who are now flying at their dream jobs because our coaches gave them the one-on-one feedback that they needed to succeed on the biggest day of their life. The best part of Spitfire is our community. All Spitfire clients will get access to our private chats where they can work with each other and they can work with our coaches and get the latest information on all the airlines. If you'd like to make sure that you are 100% ready to go on your big day, there is only one choice. Everything you need is in one place, and I think it's pretty affordable. You'll have to take a look for yourself. Just go over to SpitfireElite.com and check us out. Use the coupon code PODCAST and it'll save you 10%. And by the way, I will see you on the next episode. The statements made on this show are my own opinions and do not reflect, nor are they under any direction from my employer.